What's going on, guys? I hope you're having a great day out there today. Guys, today's video, probably not going to be for all of you, but this is going to kind of be my video and my overview and what I've learned in my first summer of learning how to fly airplanes. As many of you guys, I talked about before, I've learned how to obviously drive cars, fly drones, boats, you name it. But airplanes were my last little piece that I was kind of afraid to learn. I felt like I was going to do nothing but crash, and it wasn't going to be a good time. But kind of doing it the right way turned out to be a ton of fun, and I've been really enjoying learning how to fly here, and I've got a few different planes now. We're going to talk about a couple of the planes and, what I've learned this summer and some of the accidents I've had and how I fixed them and my opinions on a few of the cars. So if any of you guys are interested in some airplane information, stay tuned, everybody. Now, obviously, I'm relatively new, so there might be a lot of people out there with a lot of experience in this that might have a different opinion or might think, think differently than what I'm going to say here. But this is just my take and the route that I went. Now, before I even took this thing out and flew it for the first time, a lot of people talking about, learning how to fly without the airplane. So I had bought a trainer system. It's very similar. It's the same remote control as this, but it had a USB hooked up to your computer. With a simulator, and I used that for a couple of weeks, got really good with landings and taking off and control, and I decided to go out for my first flight that time. I had a lot of people in previous videos said, well, I just took it out, flew the airplane, crashed a bunch of times, and eventually learned, and I know there's lots of ways to learn, but I didn't want to have a bad time. I actually wanted to enjoy this. So that's the route I went, and I feel like it was definitely, for me, was the best route to go. And the first plane, obviously, was the STS Apprentice here. And honestly, I know it's not a fast plane or real aerobatic plane, but this thing has been awesome to learn on. I got some opinions from a few different people on different planes and what a great starter plane would be. And I honestly think this thing was awesome. This thing takes off nicely. It lands beautifully, very forgiving, and it has 3 modes on it on the controller here that allows you to select what mode you want to do beginner, advanced, or, basically fully open where you can do barrel rolls and loops and do whatever you want to with it. Now, it doesn't have a ton of power to be able to do those things fast, but it will do them and very nicely, and it was a ton of fun. And as you can see here in the wrinkles and the decals, as you guys have seen parts of that video, or actually I think I had done a short because I wasn't recording because, I wasn't recording a lot of plane videos, but I did crash this thing. I started getting a little too cocky and arrogant, and I was doing barrel rolls way too close to the ground, and it came back to bite me, and I crashed it. Lawn darted this thing hard into the ground. It completely shattered this cowling, the propeller, the nose cap, the motor that actually mounts to this whole piece under here broke the wings. Now, this is how I fixed the plane. I'll go over this real quick too. So on all the foam pieces, this was the glue I used, and this is what was suggested to me by a bunch of people. It's foam safe, Zappo super glue, basically. It's a different kind, but it doesn't melt the foam, which is obviously important. This stuff seemed to work really great. I don't know if there's better stuff out there. If there is, anybody in the comments, let me know down below, because I'm sure there'll be some future crashes. But what ended up happening was the wing number 1 broke in half right here. It's normally 2 pieces. There's a big carbon fiber rod that goes through the middle. That rod broke, but luckily there was a chunk of it still out. So what I did was I super glued that rod back together inside the wing, glued this whole seam, and then used this real heavy-duty clear packing tape. It was made by Scotch, I believe, and made sure everything was nice. Everything was nice and warm. It wasn't cold out. And glued it all together and taped it up, and it was honestly, I think it was stronger than before. Worst of it got to the whole tail section here snapped off, and you can still see some of the carnage from it. But I used that glue, and I also used some little wooden dowel rods. They're real thin. They're probably about 2 or 3 times as thick as like a toothpick, and they're wood. And I stuck them through the foam, got them in place, glued it all, set everything up, and also used the clear packing tape over top of there, it blends in pretty well because it is clear. So I got it all fixed up, got all those pieces back together again. Had a little piece bust off right here on the end, but just glued and put a piece of tape on there. And honestly, I was afraid that this thing wasn't going to fly the same, but after piecing it together, this thing flew just as nice as the day it came out of the box. So if you're looking at starting to get into plane and learning how to get into it, The Apprentice, guys, is just an awesome plane. It's very forgiving, really easy to control, especially in beginner mode. I mean, it won't let you crash. It takes some serious effort to crash this thing in beginner mode. So, and then once you get into, the full open advanced mode or whatever you call it, you can start doing your barrel rolls, forward rolls, all that stuff. And you guys may have seen a few of the videos I did it with it, but the Apprentice has been an awesome plane to learn to fly with. The only thing I did to this thing was I changed out the wheels. These are the stock wheels. I went to a little bit bigger wheels on here. They're wider and taller because it made it a lot easier landing in the grass field that I fly in all the time. But besides that, I throw my little 3S. I think they're like 3,000 milliamp, 30C lipos in here, and she flies awesome. And I'm hoping at some point to get one controller to hook all my planes up to, something with a digital screen. But I haven't felt confident yet as far as binding them and going all that route. I'm sure it's super easy, just haven't pulled the trigger yet and done it. But so the Apprentice, awesome plane if you guys are looking to get into flying. And that's how I fixed mine up. We're going to go over my other two here real quick and talk about my thoughts on those two planes and kind of the differences, especially between the Carbon Cub and the Apprentice. So this was the next plane of my purchase. This is the Carbon Cub SS Sport. And, I heard a lot of people saying that this was a great plane. A little bit smaller as far as the wingspan and length of the STS Apprentice, but this thing is far more maneuverable. You throw this thing in advanced mode, and I mean, this thing will do some barrel rolls and donut or loops and stuff like that way faster. Now, I'm definitely glad that I went with the Apprentice first and not this, because this one is definitely a little more tricky. It maneuvers a lot faster, and landing this one is different. And this is a question for anybody out there that might be watching that has one of these, that can tell me or give me some advice. Love this plane, flies great, but landing this thing, I'm not sure if I'm just not that familiar with landing yet, and it's comfortable. But this one takes a little bit more, it's harder to land. You have to have more speed on your landings, because if you don't, it automatically just stalls on one of the wings stall, and it basically will just fall out of the air. When you're like that 4 or 5 feet off the ground area, it'll just drop like a rock. I don't know if it's something I'm doing wrong. Now, on a bunch of the landings, I came in a lot faster, and it landed fine, was perfectly, worked out great. But, it's a little more tricky to land, depending on your space you have, too. That's what I found out. But the plane is awesome. Very maneuverable. Love the way it handles and the way it flies. But the landings are just a little bit more tricky. But luckily, I haven't crashed this one yet and broken anything. But I have had a couple sketchy landings, like I said. I just got to figure out if that's just the nature of this plane and you have to have more speed coming in, or if there's something I can do differently. So if there's anybody out there that has, a lot of knowledge on this plane, please let me know. I'd be curious to know if there's other ways of landing this thing without having to come in as hot as I've had to. But overall, definitely love the plane. It was a great step up from the Apprentice, and I've really enjoyed flying it. The landings are just a little more difficult, but ton of fun. And man, when you throw this thing in advanced mode in the air, it's amazing how fast you can do barrel rolls and stuff with this thing. And I'm sure it's probably nothing compared to a lot of other planes out there. My next plane I'm looking at is one of those electric jet turbine planes that also Horizon Hobby makes. Thing looks like a lot of fun. It's fast, very maneuverable. So I think that's going to be my next step this summer coming up, is going to be getting that plane and checking it out, because I've been enjoying the planes, love the cars, tons of fun, and been messing around with these things for a while. But the planes have been kind of fun and a new thing to learn. So that'll probably be my next one. But yeah, so the Carbon Cub was my second plane, and the next one I'm going to show you, it's a fun plane. And I've had some people joke around with me on here about, friends don't let friends fly foamies and all this stuff. But it's a fun plane. I'm going to tell you and show you why. Now, some of you guys have seen the little short videos I put together on this thing. And Radio Link was nice enough to send me this plane. And at first, I wasn't sure. Honestly, I was afraid that it was going to be a little above my skill level with its maneuverability, because it is more of an aerobatic plane. But this, this is made by Radio Link. It's the A560. And guys, a couple things that are awesome about this plane. It is so much fun. It is so maneuverable. It is so easy to sit there and just do vertical holds, sitting or flying and kind of spinning around. It has some different modes in it, but once you start practicing, you don't even have to use those switches to do those modes. You can do them on your own. The plane is very maneuverable and a lot of fun. But one of the best things I found out about this plane versus my bigger ones is if I just want to go out, fly around, outside, even outside my place or right down at the local park, that you can land this thing, just set it right down anywhere you want. You don't have to have a big airstrip to land this plane. You could bring it in. I was flying it over at my parents' farm the other day. It's a farm, but there's lots of trees and there's some power lines and a lot of stuff that I couldn't land my other planes. But you can bring this thing down and just kind of hover it right down and just set it right down. It's amazing. So the plane for that aspect is awesome because you don't need much space to fly this thing. It's pretty fast. It's very maneuverable. You can do all kinds of tricks with this thing, and it's really a great time. And on the controller here, it shows you, you have your normal controls, but up here they got the switchers where you can change it from beginner to advanced or intermediate to advanced. And then there's some of these where once you change it to like intermediate or advanced, you can flip these and it'll pull its own tricks. It will sit there and hover vertically. You can get it to do barrel rolls and all kinds of stuff like that. But like I said, once you get familiar with the plane, you don't even need to use that switch. You can just throw it in advanced and you could sit there and pull those vertical hovers and all kinds of fun stuff. I mean, takes a little battery down here. Everything's exposed. You got the ESC and the servo and the receiver and everything. And, I've had a few uglier landings with it. And, sometimes these pieces will kind of like buckle apart. Pop it right back in, and it's ready to fly again. It's been extremely durable, and it's been a fun plane to fly. And I've been able to use it more just because of I don't need a lot of area to fly it. Now, I have a couple great locations to fly the bigger planes. I have the that big place that I go to up by the skate park that has a great field. That's where I usually take these. I'm also going to join this flying club locally this summer where they have a big air field and a great location. Now that I feel comfortable with flying and I'm not going to make a total idiot out of myself, I'm going to join there this summer and have some fun up there because you can go up anytime you want and use the airstrip, even during the wintertime, which is great. So if you got a slightly warmer winter day, you want to head out, at least you can use it. But Speed Psycho, if you're watching this video, me and you, I know, Chad, and you've been talking about or thinking about getting a plane, learning how to fly, this might be a great one for you to try out, man, because, it's in the beginner mode. It's also very hard to crash. It'll level itself out. It'll take itself up to a certain height, and it's a lot harder to crash. And the plane is a ton of fun once you start getting better, and you don't need a ton of space to land it. But anyway, guys, I just figured, I decided right now that I'm just kind of throwing this together, some videos of things that I've enjoyed and putting some information out there of the things that I've been kind of learning along the way. I know the airplane stuff is not for everybody. Some of you guys just come here for the bashing and breaking and destroying these things. And I don't blame you. It's a lot of fun. But obviously, like I told you guys before, the wintertime gets a little harder to get out there sometimes. So I'm kind of throwing together a few shot videos here on just stuff that, I've learned, put together, and I had fun with over the summertime. And definitely flying has been an awesome one. I was a little nervous about it and apprehensive about it, but after getting my feet wet and getting out there a little bit, it has been a blast. But anyway, guys, I'm not going to bore you anymore. I just figured bring you along for a little information on, what I've learned this summer with flying and my experience so far. And it's been a lot of fun. And if you're thinking about getting into it, give it a try. And just take it slow. Don't try to get too crazy off the bat. But it's a lot of fun and a great learning experience. But that's going to do it for today. So until next time, y'all be safe. Be careful out there. Peace out, everybody.